Overconsumption online is clearly a problem whether we want to admit it or not. With that, there are plenty of videos romanticizing mass amount of buying things just to show them off on social media. And this past year, I discovered Project Pan thanks to a few new creators I found, but I didn't actually know how it started, where it came from, and whether or not it's actually just normal consumption under a new label. Hello there and welcome back to another video. My name is Lainey Jean if you're new here, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back and watching another video. Today we are discussing Project Pan because that's what you guys voted on the poll that I put up on my page. I'm so excited to talk about this, so let's just dive right into it. As we always do in my videos, we need to cover what is Project Pan. I'm going to start with a Google definition and then we'll go into some more depth on this. Project Pan is a beauty challenge where participants aim to use up all the products in their makeup and skincare collections before buying new ones. The goal is to hit the pan, meaning to reach the metal base of the makeup product, signifying it is finished. This practice promotes mindful consumption, reduces waste, saves money, and declutters from your beauty collection. This is a very simple explanation, and I think there's a lot of nuance to what actual items you can use in Project Pan and different rules for Project Pan. So I'm going to show another perspective on what Project Pan is to another creator.
I will die on this hill. Project Pan is about the behavior change that you make. I have an update. I have gone through 2 half-empty bottles of lotion and 1 half-empty bottle of body oil, and I've been moisturizing, I'm not going to say every day, probably 5 or 6 days out of the week. I've restructured my whole routine. I started showering in the evening, and then I have a ritual that I engage in. I wasn't doing any of that before. I was just staring at all my half-empty bottles, and then when I wanted to moisturize more, I'd go buy a new one. So now I have a lineup of things that I have to get through, and I'm very excited to try some new products. Like I want to try the EOS vanilla lotion, like really bad. So I have to keep on with my habits so I can get there. So far, so good. What are your Project Pan updates, and what's been making a difference for you to like get through your products? I want to hear all your tips. Last thought. I think Project Pan gamifies it. Like adds in another extra layer, a challenge.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say that I totally agree with her that Project Pan can really be the root of a behavioral change in how you approach buying, but also using the products you have. But a lot of people don't really understand how you could end up in this situation of having all of these products. Honestly, I didn't at first either. I was looking at this from the outside with this perspective of how could you spend so much money on these products and not use them? How could you let your collection get that big? I was being very negative towards it and not really seeing the other side of the conversation. As she mentions in this video, some people just really love the habit of buying things and shopping. They don't necessarily care about what it is they're buying. It's more the act of purchasing the thing that matters to them. And so that can lead to this problem of having hundreds and hundreds of products that you don't actually use, because every time you get slightly bored of something, or you get this new idea in your head, like she mentioned in this video, of something that you want to get back into doing, instead of using the items you already have, you go and you buy a new version of the same product to re-inspire yourself or motivate yourself to get back into that routine or using said type of product. And my last little thought on her perspective of Project Pan, I really like how she said that gamifying it can be really useful, because truly sometimes you have to treat using up your products as a game if it's really hard for you to not want to buy new things all the time. So this brings me into the next question of where does it come from? This started because of a subreddit group in 2015. I'm not on Reddit, so if I'm using the wrong terminology, I apologize. But I believe it was subreddit groups that were conversing over this idea of actually using up the products you have. I found this article from 2015 written on Project Pan. I think it was a very interesting article to look at how she was sharing the objects she was focusing on. Apparently, originally, Project Pan was called Project 10 Pan because you would choose specifically 10 products you wanted to hit pan on. So you were basically choosing 10 specific items you were committing to until every single one of them was completely gone. When I was looking at this article, read through the list she made of the items and stuff, and I actually really liked different categories she made. She had the nearly empty, the I just need to get this out of my life, and the too many alternatives. And I think that picking categories like this that are kind of themed can really help you decide decide what you want to focus on. More on that later. It seems that a lot of people started blogging about their Project 10 pan to hold themselves accountable and also hold other people accountable and kind of share the ideas of how they are getting through all of these products that they have. And honestly, it didn't really seem to take off until 2020 when it became increasingly popular on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. I personally didn't really notice it until this last year, but it started to really gain traction around 2020. I think that that is very realistic because that was when COVID was. So I think that that time forced a lot of us to kind of look at what we own and what we already have and kind of come to the realization that maybe we are consuming too many things. But at the same time, COVID was a time where we didn't have a lot to do. So sometimes the only thing you could do to feel like you had control or you weren't bored was to consume. There are still Project Pan threads and subreddits of people sharing their continuous updates on products they're using, asking for help on how to get through a product, and also just encouraging each other to keep going with the efforts that they are making to finish the products they already have. Two big creators that really introduced me to the idea of Project Pan were Alicia Berman and Shauna Raparty. I will link them in the description if you want to go check out their pages. They both talk about Project Pan for slightly different reasons, but at the end of the day, they both benefited them in exponential ways. They both had to do somewhat with like a low buy / no buy year, which is a whole other conversation, but I think Project Pan can be a really big part of that. I think the more recent rise in Project Pan this past year and this year is thanks to creators like them talking more about overconsumption, buy now, pay later schemes, budgeting to pay off debt, and living a bit under your means. So now let's talk a little bit about the rules of Project Pan. When I started digging into the rules based off of like 2015, the articles, the blogs that I read, I realized a few things that I didn't notice in watching recent videos on it. The original rules suggested that you only picked a certain number of products and you stuck to those until they were completely gone. There was no budging it. You couldn't move it around, which brought up a few questions around the rules. First of all, what if you have more than one product of that type? And what if you get bored or discouraged to use the items that you already have? Is there a way to make a system to allow you to switch out the old products or other products you have whilst continuing to use all of them? While I think sticking to, say you choose 10 products, sticking to the 10 products you chose can be really great in teaching you how to utilize what you have. Fatigue is real, especially for people who are used to buying new things when they are bored of a product. It can be really hard to break out of that cycle. Project Pan can be a great way to retrain your brain for that. But if you have multiples of the same product and you have access to them, it could honestly be doing more harm than good if you aren't allowing yourself to use the other products you already have as well. So in my opinion, building a system that allows you to use the products you have, say you chose those 10 products, but if one of those products you're getting bored of and you have multiples of the same product that you already own, I think it's okay to find a system where you can switch them out, whether that be once a month, once a week, once a season, especially if you have like different shades of things you like to use. For example, I know a lot of people like to change out their blush shade or their lip color for different seasons. If you only have one blush shade, obviously like stick to that till it's gone. But if you own, say, 4 different blushes and you want to change those out every week and you're still using those same 4 blushes on a rotating system, I don't see any harm in that. And I think people are being a lot more lenient with the rules because it is a project that should be personal and should work for you and what you own and what you want to go through. So I don't think there needs to be so many hard and fast rules about you must only use this one product that you chose and you can't switch it out for the other ones that you already own until the one you chose is gone. Because I think that that is just setting yourself up for, I don't want to say failure, but like getting bored of the product you have. But at the same time, I use 3 blushes every time I wear blush actually, but I use all of them at the same time. That's another thing. If you like more than one blush, what's stopping you from using both of those blushes? Again, I think that there is a different way each person can approach it. We'll talk a bit more about normal consumption versus Project Pan in a little bit, but I kind of just clocked myself on the fact that I've kind of overconsumed the amount of blushes I've had in the past, and I've never come to terms with that until right now, literally just talking to you. Do I need 3 blushes? No. Do I use all 3 of them every single day? Yes. I would be just fine using one blush. And I think that that's a great place to strive to get to. But I also get that some people want to have maybe like 2 shade options.
Editing lady here. I just want to add the note that I think with any product, it is up to you to decide how many products you need, whether that be for a specific season, 4 different shades you might need based on like if your skin tone changes throughout the year. Like that is for you to decide, which I think is why as long as you are using the products you have, you are using them completely up and you aren't buying an extreme excess amount, it can be okay to have 1 or 2 multiples of a product within reason. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments though. Maybe this is a hot take.
I literally own 3 different blushes that I use every day. So come at me in the comments if you want to. I'm not trying to bash on anyone's love for their products. Allowing yourself to switch out these products if you do have multiples that you're trying to get through, especially for the accounts of people that I've seen who have hundreds and hundreds of products they're trying to get through, it can help you prevent burnout because Project Pan, if you have hundreds of products to get through, that's going to take years. This is something you're doing for the long haul. It's not just a month or 2 of you doing it and then you're done. You're doing it, you're committing to it until all of these products are gone. So you have to think about how to make it more sustainable for yourself moving forward. And as far as tracking goes, I think that that's completely up to you. I've seen people do spreadsheets. I've seen people use notes apps, journaling. I've seen people just keep track of it in their head. Also, recording it and putting it on social media is a good way to keep track of it. If you want to hold yourself accountable and share your journey with other people, same thing with the Reddit posts. I think that that's exactly how people are using it, is kind of a way to keep track of what they are doing, what progress they're making, what they need help with. If anything, it is just helping show other people how they can do the same thing. I've seen some videos recently of people saying that their Project Pan, once they get through a product, they're allowed to replace it. To me, that feels like it defeats the purpose of the Project Pan, because going back to the blush explanation, if you have 4 blushes and you use one of those blushes, you still have 3 more blushes to use. So to me, it seems a little odd to justify going back and purchasing another blush, so then you're back to the place where you started. You now have 4 blushes again. In my eyes, you should be trying to get rid of all 4 of those blushes before you buy a new one. And then once you buy that new one, hopefully it is either your favorite out of the 4, or if you want to try a new one, you get a new one and use that until it's gone before you get another blush. The whole purpose of Project Pan is to bring down the number of products you have, not to replace a product once you're done with it, when you already have more. I would love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments, because obviously this is just my opinion, my take on this, but I have seen some people talking about how the idea of Project Pan has been changed recently because of people saying that you can replace product. The last little rule I want to touch on is, do you have to finish products you hate? I've also seen many differing opinions on this. I'm not going to share necessarily my opinion, but I do want to share a perspective I saw in a video of someone taking products they don't like for their intended purpose and finding other uses for them. For example, they didn't like a sunscreen that they were wearing that was made for their face because it smelled, I think she said like battery acid. I think that was her exact words. And so she instead started using it on like her arms and her neck because she couldn't smell it when she used it on those parts of her body, and it's still protecting her skin. She didn't like a conditioner that she was using on her hair, so instead she started using it as like a shaving cream alternative, and it was working really well for her. So there are ways to get around using products for their not intended purpose. Definitely depends on the products you're using though. Again, let me know your thoughts on that. If you think you have to go through products you hate, or if it's better to either find a different purpose for them or give them to someone else. And the last thing that I promised we would talk about is this just normal consumption? This has been a very big conversation on this page recently, especially with some of the underconsumption core videos I've shared on YouTube Shorts and on TikTok and Instagram. I can already hear people in the comments typing, Lainey, isn't this just healthy, normal consumption using the things that you already have? And to that, I would say it's a bit more nuanced than that, because while yes, using the products you have before buying a new one is normal, a lot of these people that are doing Project Pan are not starting from that place of only owning one of a product. There wouldn't necessarily be a need for Project Pan to help you get through your products if you only have one of each product. That is normal consumption. So if you are on that normal consumption track where you only have one of a specific product, you use it till it's gone and then you replace it, whether that be with something new or with the same thing, I don't think Project Pan is for you, because you are already in the headspace of just using what you have and not needing to buy multiples of a product. But if you've fallen into this overconsumption train and you have multiples upon multiples of a product, it may be time to consider Project Pan, because that is overconsumption and you might want to get back to a place of normal consumption, consuming less. To me, normal consumption and Project Pan stem from 2 different places. Normal consumption is genuinely you only have one of each thing. Project Pan is for people who already have accumulated many items that they have not gotten through, or they should get through. They should use them, but they don't necessarily know how to approach it, and they're possibly still dealing with the problem of buying things whilst they have all of this stuff already. So those are all my thoughts on Project Pan, where it came from, why it started. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments. I would love to hear, especially on the rules of it. Like, what are some rules if you do Project Pan? What are some rules you follow? If you don't do Project Pan, what are some rules you think would be a good idea to add? As always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Love you. Bye.